I'm Woods Houghton with Eddy County Extension Office, and we're back again. We've done a number of programs now, including soil sampling, and last time I showed you about planting roses and that rose petals were edible, but something that's even better than rose petals is tomatoes. And a lot of people, the most popular homegrown garden plant is tomatoes. And I like to start mine about middle of January. I start them in an egg carton. Just put my seeds in there and get them started in the windowsill, and then we move them into a cold frame, into little paper cups, and then I've already planted mine, but I got some out here in the truck, and we're going to, if they're in decent shape, we're going to plant them out here at the office. So why don't you just come out here and I'll show you how to transplant your tomatoes, because most people buy their tomato sets from the nursery and don't start them from seed. But I just want to let you know that you can do that if you want to, and let's get started. And as we've been talking, Robin, my right-hand assistant today and every day, is just packaged up a bunch of soil that was brought in by a farmer, and she's going to get that shipped off and taken care of, and she takes care of a lot of things for me. So if I'm not around, you can ask Robin, and she'll tell you she doesn't know and give you my phone number. These poor tomatoes have been sitting in the truck. I hope they survive. But anyway, what I do is we start them off in a egg carton, and then I go to these little plastic cups. This is usually the way you buy them at the nursery, is in the cups. And when I planted my garden, I had some left over, so I put them in a bucket so that I could keep them alive, because these were really too small for them at that time. And you can see these are pretty long and pretty big tomatoes plants. So let me just take this bucket over here. Now you want to plant tomatoes usually out where they got plenty of sunshine. In Carlsbad, New Mexico, a light shade or an afternoon shade doesn't hurt a bit. And so we're going to put it right here, and you can watch them as they grow in my office here as we go. And what I like to do is dig a pretty good hole. A lot deeper than you really think you need to go. Okay, and then I just take a little bit of 1154 fertilizer, about a quarter of a cup or about a handful, and I put that down in the bottom and put a little bit of soil on top, just like that. And then let's pick out one that might survive. And a lot of times when you start getting these tomatoes from about this time of year, they start getting really long and lanky. And that's one of the neat things about tomatoes is, and you can see here, that's from the original cup where I started them. You got the little white hairs. You see I planted it really deep. The neat thing about tomatoes is that if you plant them deep, pluck the limbs off them, you can plant them real deep, and they'll develop advantageous roots up and along the stem, and you'll get more of a tomato plant. So you can really plant tomatoes and peppers really deep, and that truck came by just at the right time, didn't it? So anyway, so we'll put this plant down here, and then we just bring some more soil around here and pack it in, and we're going to plant this even deeper. And you can even plant, I've actually planted tomatoes sideways, laid them down, and just brought the top up, and then you had 3 or 4 plants coming up as where that top is. That's all there is to planting tomatoes, and hopefully this one will survive, because it's been in my truck and it looks like it got pretty hot. But it's got good leaves over here. It'll probably do all right. So that's all there is. This plant here is pretty much dead, but let me pull this out and see all these little hairs growing right there. Those are all roots. See how deep I had that buried? And those are all advantageous roots that's growing off that stem, and that's why you can plant tomatoes so deep like that. Now we should be able to, if everything goes right, in about 25 days we should have some fruit on that tomato plant. And you always wonder why tomatoes taste better when they come out of your garden than at the grocery store. Well, they pick them green at the grocery store. All tomatoes that are sold in mass markets are usually picked green. In fact, plant breeders have done what Detroit could not do. We got a tomato plant that'll take a 5-mile-an-hour impact without damage. Okay, and so they can be picked by mechanical harvesters, and they're picked green, and then they're put into there's two ways they do this. One is they put them into a chamber and flood that chamber with ethylene, which will make those tomatoes turn red. But they're still green tomatoes and they still taste like pith versus a nice fresh vine ripened tomato you got out of your garden. You know, or the other way they do it is if they come out of Mexico, they will stack in a semi truck, they'll stack a box of green tomatoes, a box of green bananas, and then another row of boxes of green tomatoes, another row of boxes of bananas. Bananas produce natural ethylene. That's why they ripen on your counter. That's also why if you break your bananas apart, they won't over ripen as fast as if you leave them together, because they're sharing all that ethylene together. So they produce the ethylene, which causes the green tomatoes to turn red. They still taste like pith, you know, and not nearly as good as your vine ripened fresh tomatoes that you can get at the farmer's market or out of your own garden. And the ones in the store that they sell with the vine, they do the same thing. They're picked green, even though they have the vine attached. They just cut the vine with the green tomatoes on them, and then they produce ethylene as well, and they ripen that way. And if you ever, you know, don't mind, if you're in a rush and you can't get your green tomatoes to ripen up, just throw a banana peel out there. They'll give out some ethylene and turn it red, and then you can eat it and think you have a ripe tomato. Okay, some of the other things to be planting this time of year. I like to have my chili peppers in the ground by now. Really, your chili peppers should be about as big as these tomato plants are, and they should be doing well. And you should have your corn in the ground by now. I got my corn. It's a good time to be planting okra. This is about the right time to be planting your okra. And I like to get my watermelons and cantaloupes planted. It's warm enough now. Our soil temperature is about 60 degrees. So start planting your watermelons and cantaloupes. Don't plant your pumpkins yet, because they'll be ripened too close to Halloween. You want the pumpkins to come off right in time for jack-o'-lanterns for Halloween, unless of course you're just making pumpkin pie out of them. So it's a little bit early to be planting pumpkins yet. And be sure and plant your cantaloupes and your watermelons away from each other, because they will cross-pollinate, as will your cucumbers. It's a good time to be planting cucumbers right now as well. So get out there and get your garden going. Okay? Actually, I'm going to plant one more, just because we got time and space. Okay, one tomato plant will produce a lot of fruit. In fact, I've gotten enough for a family, but I always tell people plant 3 times more than what you need, because 1/3 for you, 1/3 for the insects, 1/3 for Mother Nature and the bad weather she's going to send you. So I always plant 3 times more than what you need. And look at all those good roots right there. That plant is taking off. Other thing is, when you take them out of that little plastic can, take your fingers and tear those roots up so they'll go out like this. And see, that's all come out into this native soil just like they're supposed to. And so that's really good. As you know, we're going on over 200 days now. Now see that? See that worm there? That's a sign of a good, healthy soil. You're supposed to should have worms in your soil. That shows that you're not tilling it up too much, you're not tearing it up too much, that you got good bacteria, good fungus growth in your soil. So we're going to put him right back in that soil so that he can continue doing his job. But didn't mean to interrupt you, but sometimes things like that happen. And so anyway, it's been droughty, we've been without water, so you're gonna have to water these tomato plants about once a week now, or twice a week, depending on your soil type. Our soil type here, that we'll water them twice a week because it's real shallow and whatnot. But so and as we get droughty, you want to be water conscious and conserve water, but at the same time you don't want to lose your landscape. So I know the thing on Albuquerque tells you 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 and 15 minutes, and I don't like the 15-minute deal because for some soils and some sprinkler system that's probably enough, but other soils and other sprinkler systems that may not be enough. What I want you to do is put out at least 1 inch of water a week. And you want to do that by measuring your water. Take a tin can, take a cup, something that won't fall over, put it out there between your sprinklers, turn your sprinklers on, and time how long it takes before you get an inch of water in there. And you should water at least 1 inch a week from March until first part of June. Then when it starts getting real hot, put down 1.5 inches to 2 inches a week, and do that at least 2 different times. And then as it starts getting cooling off in the September, go back to 1 inch, and then August, September, go back to 1 inch, and then September, October, November, go back to 1/2 inch a week. And I'd much rather talk about inches of moisture than I would time on a sprinkler, because time doesn't really. I know some sprinkler systems I'll put out 1 inch in 15 minutes, and I know some that'll take an hour to put out 1 inch. You're putting out the same amount of moisture. So, okay. And with our little bit of fertilizer left over, we're going to put a little bit of fertilizer on our roses here. And notice I'm not putting it up right up against the stem. I'm putting it out here around the rows, around the drip line of the rows, and that's because that's where the feeder roots are on the rows. If you put it right up here close, that won't do the rose plant any good because it's got its roots out where I just put that fertilizer in that ring. So, all right. And with that, it's spring. It's beginning of early part of summer. Get your summer garden going, fertilize your roses, and let's hope my tomato plants here survive. A guy will come by here and check on them, see if they make it or not. Hopefully we'll have fresh tomatoes in about 30 days on our hamburgers that we're barbecuing out back. All right. Well, as you can see, my office is a mess, but my truck is even messier. I got all kinds of things back here that I keep for various reasons, and everything from tapes for measuring wet depth of windmills, and I gotta, I do keep, because it does get so hot out here, I do keep an ice chest with some drinks. When you're working out in your garden and out in your yard, make sure you stay hydrated, because it's real easy to get dehydrated and get to the point where you cause yourself physical harm or physical damage, and we don't want that to happen. And the other things that get real dehydrated, that's why I like planting trees in the fall, is because you can plant trees in the fall and it gives all winter for that root system to grow and get established before the tree starts putting on leaves and put demands on that root system. But all the nurseries and all the box stores, they all get their trees in the spring, so that's when everybody plants trees. And you plant trees basically the same way we did the rose bush, where you want to keep it, don't want to plant a tree too deep, because trees do not develop advantageous roots like our tomato plant does. You know, so you want to plant a tree basically the same way, and we'll be doing a program on that. We'll go up here to the nursery and we'll go through and look at some trees and talk about some of the advantages of some of the trees and disadvantages of others, and what to look for when you're buying a tree. And then we'll talk about how to plant a tree. But you want to make sure that you don't dehydrate that tree when you first plant it. Make sure that you get plenty of moisture around that tree and keep it hydrated.